although we spend most of our time talking to teachers, administrators, educators, that the people who are at the sharp end of education are the students. And I think it was very useful to be reminded, and we need to remind ourselves, particularly in a conference that's mostly educators, that the student voice is something that needs to be heard and brought into the conversation. We're going to go to questions in a minute, but before we do, I'd like to give everybody a chance, and I'll go this way around, to say very briefly, just in a minute or two, what kind of things are on your radar in terms of education, what you think the things are over the horizon that you are particularly interested in paying attention to, or that you want to know more about, or that your publication is interested in, or your outlet is interested in. For me, the big things that I'm looking at now are marketization, so the increasing role of the private sector as a provider of education, and the kind of stresses and tensions and debates that kicks off in different societies. I'm based in England, although I cover all of Europe, and the IHT covers education all around the world. But there's been a huge debate about the rise in tuition fees, and behind that, a sense that British education is heading towards an American model of more privatization. So that's one thing. The second thing I'm interested in is credentials, and what you get at the end of an education process. You know, does a degree represent a period of time spent in an institution, or does it represent a series of competences? And if it represents a series of competences and those can be delivered online for a half, a quarter, a tenth of the cost, then what is going to happen to the institutions that used to deliver those degrees? Are they going to end up like the kind of places where people used to keep their horses? Are they all going to disappear? And of course, the third thing that I'm sure we're all paying attention to is the increasingly global nature of education, and the fact that students are mobile, academics are particularly mobile. I heard somebody the other day, a university president, compare able academics to footballers. I have to tell you, as someone who's taught in the university myself, I'd love to think that that we were going to be like David Beckham someday and pursued around the world. I'm not sure that's really true, but it is true that there's an increasingly global market, but beyond the market, it's also a kind of global stage. So those are three things that are always on my screen. What do you think is important to pay attention to, Philippe?
I think your second point is very important, how to maybe to use the internet revolution to increase the accessibility to education to many youngsters who don't have today. And also through the diversity of experience in each part of the world to try to help develop the education in where there is a strong need, and how to use the new devices, for education purpose, how not to transform education institutions, as you said, as horse stalls or whatever it is. In fact, what institutions can play in the future is very important. I think it is key to get the 100% of the population educated using the new technologies without destroying the existing useful system.
Thank you. Luc?
You said marketizing. I think so. I mean, we are confronting with a global system and with a high level of competition between universities, for example, in the world. And I think that is the first main issue for the next years. I would say technology is a great challenge, and we can see devil problems, but I think that with new technologies we have a lot of solutions for education, and I believe that in the next years, in the next decades, we'll be able to improve our educational system thanks to new technologies. I think the last point would be democracy, and the fact that, as we observed in the Arab revolutions these last months, and I think about the reports of our special envoy in Libya, for example, and she said that part of the fighters were young leaders, graduated, and they wanted to fight for democracy. And I think that in our global and global world, education and democracy are two main issues, and all the current debates in Europe, for example, about referendum or about parliament power, for me, are linked with the educational issues. So I would say democracy and education would be the third point.
Thank you.
I think one of the key challenges in India is to ensure that students who complete their 12th standard or get high school also end up becoming graduates and postgraduates. And the number of seats in India in colleges, universities, etc. is pitifully inadequate. So what we're doing is, from our side, we have started taking out magazines which focus on career educational opportunities for students all across the world, as well as educational opportunities beyond post-graduation. The other thing I think we need to highlight is the need to allow for-profit education in India. You have government which plays a role through government schools, you have private schools which play a role, but as per the Indian Constitution and the Supreme Court judgment, for-profit education is not allowed in India. So you have, without naming names, you have strange cases in India whereby institutes are charging $45,000 a year in India, and they call themselves not-for-profit. Similarly, the Indian government has allowed foreign universities to set up shop in India, but they are supposed to be not-for-profit. So what will happen is that fly-by-night operators will come, no prestigious universities are going to come to India, and the problem of wasted human capital, whereby people are not able to go on to graduate and postgraduate degrees, continues.
This has been fascinating. Thank you all for sitting through it and for contributing to it, and particularly thanks to Suneet and Philippe and Luc for bearing with me. And it's been a great pleasure and a great honor to be here. Thank you.